Germany's interior minister said Saturday that it has noticed an increased presence of drones over parts of the country in recent days. Describing the threat level as high, the minister said that Berlin will be adopting measures to protect itself in response. Take a listen to him earlier.
We note a permanent hybrid threat. It's about sabotage and espionage. Everyone could hear in the past few days that there has been an increased use of drones over parts of Germany. Our neighbouring countries are also reporting an increase in drones with varying degrees of effectiveness. We're witnessing an armament race. An arms race between drone threats and drone defence. We must prepare ourselves for this, a race that we must not lose. And that is why we need to upgrade our technology.
Well, that announcement from the German interior minister came just hours after Denmark made a similar claim. The Nordic country's defense ministry saying that drones were observed at several of its facilities overnight on Friday, following a series of sightings across the country earlier this week. For more on this, France 24's international affairs editor Philip Turle joins me now on set. Hi, Philip. So as for the Danish case then goes, still no news on who might be responsible.
No response from anybody to say they were responsible either for the attacks in Germany, which took place in the Schleswig-Holstein state, which is pretty close to the border with Denmark, or also in Denmark, where we've seen fresh attacks overnight in several areas, notably at the Skrup Air Base and the Jutland Dragoon Regiment, and also, more importantly, this hasn't been confirmed by the Danish authorities, but by local media, that there was a sighting of drones at the Karup Air Base, which is situated in the centre of the country. This is the main air base in Denmark, the biggest military air base, and that's why the authorities are being a bit tight-lipped about it, but the reports from local authorities say that there were drones both inside and outside of that air base. But still, no claim of responsibility from anybody for these drone attacks. That hasn't stopped the authorities in both Germany, as we've just been hearing, and also in Denmark from pointing the finger indirectly at the Russians. The Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen, said Denmark had been a victim of hybrid attacks, which he said could then multiply. But she said the one main country that poses a threat to Europe's security is, of course, Russia. And Denmark's Justice Minister has said the aim of these incursions was basically to spread fear, to create division, and to frighten people as to the safety of taking aeroplanes and moving around the country. So I think the main aim here of whoever is responsible for this is to see just how far they can go, what the retaliation would be, and also probably to try to recuperate some kind of information. Now, the finger is being pointed fairly squarely at Russia, Erin, because there are 67 Russian ships based in the Baltic Sea. That's just across the water from Scandinavia, notably Denmark and Sweden. They have access to Kaliningrad, which is Russian territory just next to the Baltic states. So it is pretty easy for them to have those drones on board to fire them off and then for them to come back. There were even reports this week that some of the ships were changing identity so that they were not seen as being Russian ships, but from a European country. So there is a big investigation going on as to who could be responsible for all of this and how long this is going to last for. But I think what is safe to say is that these drone attacks over the last few days have opened up the possibility or the fear that Europe is very vulnerable, that this wasn't seen as something that was going to happen or could have happened, but not on such a strong level. And I think this has been a wake-up call because there are many in Europe saying, well, we've got a series of drone attacks taking place in Denmark and in northern Germany. We've seen these other attacks against other countries in Europe with not necessarily attacks, but flyovers of missiles and planes into NATO airspace, which obviously have come from Russia. So it's time now for something to be done. And one other element is that really, I think there is a fear that if something's isn't done quickly, then this could all spiral out of control.
Now, the Danish Prime Minister, at least earlier this week, did indeed use the language of attacks, hybrid attacks, though it is worth specifying that for now, these are more sightings than attacks. Now, Philip, nonetheless, the EU has called for the building of an anti-drone wall. What exactly would this entail?
Well, this is not a wall built out of concrete or bricks and mortar. This is a wall to try to protect Europe against these drone incursions. They are pretty dependent, I think, or they're going to be pretty dependent on Ukraine for helping them do this, because Ukraine has developed anti-drone measures to fight against Russian drones. I think three key objectives here. The first one is the construction of anti-drone bases with the help of Ukraine, situated along Europe's eastern flank, which you can see in the picture here. The drone detectors also then deployed along that border to stop or detect drones trying to penetrate into European airspace. And then the deployment of interceptor drones from the European side to shoot down the drones coming in, because that is a lot cheaper than using missiles or aeroplanes, which are much more costly when it comes to shooting down drones. The problem is that the drones, for the moment, they can get through detection of radar, and they're quite hard to identify, and also can cause damage if they are shot down. That's why the Danish authorities so far say they haven't shot down any drones, because they don't want them to cause damage or hit an aeroplane, and all the drones have gone back to where they came from and they haven't been identified. So I think this is an ongoing situation, but the finger is pretty much being pointed at Russia right now.
Philip Turle, thank you very much.